Today we are going to be finding a missing angle as opposed to a missing side in a triangle that we have. So the process is similar that we have. You're going to label the triangle with the parts that you have, the hypotenuse, the opposite, and the adjacent. And then you're going to figure out the two sides that you have. So in these kinds of problems, you have two pieces of information that are the sides, whereas in the last kind, when you were finding a side, one of them was a variable. This time your variable is the angle. So now I set it up in a similar manner. The trig function, so sine, cosine, or tangent, of the angle that you want, so angle A, B, X, Y, C, theta, whatever you want, equals the side given over the side given. Okay? Then in your calculator when you solve, you have to make sure that you press a certain button to find the angle rather than to find the sine or cosine of an angle. So in your calculator, you have to make sure that you hit second and then your trig function if you're using one of the TI calculators or in a couple other calculators. So the second's the yellow button, and then above you can see sine -1, cosine -1, tangent -1. That's what I'm talking about. So rather than just have cosine of an angle, like we practiced yesterday, you do second cosine and then you would have a fraction. Like that. So this gives you the angle, whereas this gives you the cosine of an angle. So these are the differences from yesterday and today. Okay, so it looks like cosine -1, sine -1, or tangent -1. So usually you have to hit second to get that on your calculators. Okay, so let's try an example problem, see if we can figure out how to do the problem. So we're going to label the problem just like we did yesterday. So across from the 90-degree angle is the hypotenuse. This is the angle that we want. So I'm going to look across from that angle is called the opposite. Next to that angle is called the adjacent, because this one's already the hypotenuse. So now I have the opposite and the adjacent. Notice there's no number with the hypotenuse, so that's why I'm not using the hypotenuse. So I think of SOHCAHTOA, oops, I forgot my T, or whatever you use for this. Some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid, or SCAT, and then oh hell, another hour of algebra, whatever version. But the opposite and the adjacent go with tangent, so I'm going to set it up so I have tangent, and yesterday we had an angle here. But today, since this is our variable that we're looking for, I'm going to put tangent of x. You can put a degree sign to help you remember that you're looking for a degree. Equals the tangent's opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to do 5 divided by 12. Okay? So anytime you're looking for an angle on your calculator, you want to hit the second button and then the trig function. So I do tangent -1 of 5 divided by 12. Okay? So I get 22. So you can write it like this, so 5 divided by 12, that gives you x. So x is 22.62 degrees, and we'll round to 2 decimal places. Okay, so this is the angle that I got. So yesterday we got a missing side, today we're finding a missing angle. So let's try the next one. So first of all, we label our sides. Across from the 90-degree angle is called the hypotenuse. This is our angle x that we want, so across from that is called the opposite. Next to it is called the adjacent. Okay, so notice the ones that have the numbers are the adjacent and the hypotenuse. Those are the ones with the labeled numbers on the sides. So I think to myself, what has adjacent and hypotenuse was sine, cosine, and tangent. Notice it's the cosine. So I set it up as the cosine of the angle, so of x, equals adjacent, which is 19, over the hypotenuse, which is 30. Okay? Notice I'm looking for the angle. So when you're looking for the angle, you want to do second cosine, or cosine to the -1, or another way you can say that is the inverse cosine of 19 divided by 30, and that will give you your x value. So on your calculator, hit second cosine. Also make sure that you remember to check your mode. If you're borrowing a calculator, make sure that it's in the correct mode. So you hit mode, make sure it's in degree. If it's your calculator, you would have already changed it. But I do 19 divided by 30, so now it's cosine -1 or inverse cosine of 19 divided by 30. I'm going to close my parenthesis, and I get 50.70. So you can put the 0 or drop the 0. So this angle is 50 degrees. Okay? Let's have you try the next one by yourself. Let's see how you do. Set it up, label the sides, see which trig function goes with it, and then see if you can solve for the angle using your calculator. Okay, let's see what happened, see how you did. Okay, across from the 90-degree angle is the hypotenuse. Next to it is the adjacent. Across from that is the opposite. So notice I have the opposite and the adjacent. So I'm going to set up the tangent of x equals the opposite, which is 100, over the adjacent, which is 92. So in my calculator, I have tangent -1, or the inverse tangent, of 100 divided by 92. So I do second tangent of 100 divided by 92. And I get x is 47.38. Oh, we're rounding to 2. 39. So this angle right here is 47.39 degrees. Now, remember, if I wanted to find the other angle, that since there's 180 degrees in a triangle, and this is 90, these two are complementary. Complementary means that they add to 90 degrees. Okay? So that's how you find the angle. You label your sides, you figure out which two pieces of information you have, and which trig function goes with it, and then to solve, when you're looking for an angle, make sure you use the second cosine, second sine, or second tangent to solve. And that's how you get your angle on your triangle. Make sure that you answer the questions and that you ask one question that you either didn't get or that a teacher may ask. This is Square Rooter signing out.